as it entertains the first ever mountain bike tour of Britain. The Guildhall in the city of Portsmouth, a city which 2 years ago played host to the great Tour de France, and what a successful visit that was. And now it's something of a pioneer, because from here starts the first ever British mountain bike tour. Hello, I'm Phil Liggett and welcome along to our first of 6 programmes now as we follow the fortunes of some of the top mountain bike riders in the business in this 6-day event. Well, you know, for the first time this year in Atlanta, Georgia, the venue of the Olympic Games, mountain biking will have an event. I'll guarantee too that it will probably draw some of the biggest crowds to the Olympic venues. Here we've got the top riders facing up to 6 very tough days. The riders going away in processional style from Portsmouth Guildhall, heading up to Fort Widley for the prologue. Then on day 2, the riders will move along to Petersfield, Hampshire and the Queen Elizabeth Country Park. There'll be a cross-country race on day 3 at Capstan Farm Country Park at Rochester up on Medway. Then we move west to Bath and Lansdowne. On day 5, a double-headed day. The downhill at Kilvey Hill, Swansea, and at the same venue will follow a cross-country race. The final stage will be at Ilkeston in Derbyshire. The Rutland Recreation Ground will play host to the last day of racing. And Britain's Olympic team, early to sign in, is led by Gary Ford from Sussex, who is already selected for the Olympic Games. Behind him is Tim Gould, one of Britain's finest riders from Matlock in Derbyshire. Tim is reserved for Atlanta. And behind him, David Baker, another Olympic selection. Warm and sunny conditions, but the wind is blowing outside the City Hall. The 128 riders, men, women, elite, and those in it just for fun, are ready to make the long ride out of town, bound for Fort Widley, which sits atop Portsdown Hill. Filing away from Guildhall Square, the off-roaders stay on the road. And so a mass start here in the centre of Fort Widley, and the women among the non-elite men, so they're going to have to cut through the men as well and keep an eye on one another. The hard left-hand corner, the dust left behind as they go around the arena in the fort, then they'll dive out over the pasture land and through the gate and out into open countryside. There's Caroline Alexander. She's made a great start. And so too has Louise Robinson going through there in yellow. She's second. So Alexander has got the lead she wanted right from the gun as she completes the lap here. Now moves out onto the second lap of the circuit. She's got herself 30 seconds advantage over Louise Robinson. Now we're looking for Alexander, but Louise Robinson has gone through, followed by Deb Morell. Alexander has not come by us. So something has happened to the British champion, because now Louise Robinson has the lead and she's being followed by Deb Morell, the other Olympic selection. Louise Robinson, by the way, is on the reserve list for the Olympics. Here is Alexander. She's behind by 1:53. We have been told she's had a flat tyre out on the circuit. Well, in mountain biking, it is definitely a case of do everything for yourself. If anybody assists, you are out of the race. And so she's had to change a tyre, and she's looking at a 1:53 seconds deficit, and she's beginning to cut her way back. This is Jill Smith now, she's passing. So Alexander, a little bit of adrenaline running as well, as Louise Robinson here struggles up the hill. Climbs onto the top of the ramparts in Fort Widley, looks over her shoulder. She'll be very worried. She knows that Caroline Alexander won't take too long to change that tyre, and she will know she punctured because, of course, she was riding behind her when she did so. We're on to lap 4, into the copse here again. And Louise Robinson is riding extremely well today. She's certainly on a high as the camera goes back, and my goodness me, Caroline Alexander is now only about 10 seconds behind her and closing in rapidly with 2 laps to go. Onto the top course now. Look at the difference in the pedal rate here as Alexander closes in on Louise Robinson to reclaim front position. We are on lap number 4. She's 5th. Now up towards the finishing line, and a nice two-handed wave from Caroline Alexander. She has won the first stage of the event with a 2-arm salute, and she'll feel particularly delighted about that. She's pulled away in the end from Louise Robinson. Here she comes. She'll claim a clear second place, around about 22 seconds behind. And Deb Morell, British mountain bike enthusiast, to see the big names racing here on British soil. There they are on the start line, and the rider's now waiting for the gun. The start very often crucial. I would think today more so, because the course is basically dry all of the way round, and there's a lot of riders here are going to want to make a perfect start. As they ride off around the opening circuit before exiting from the fort, I'm joined in the commentary box by 7 times British track champion Russell Williams, and he was down there in the sport event earlier on, so there's no better man to tell us how these riders are going to feel on this circuit.
I think we'll have a really fast 2 miles, and the main thing to look out for is the big teams. We've got some big teams here from Europe, but hopefully we're going to have a good ride by some of the Great Britain riders, especially from the Olympic squad.
Well, I'll tell you what, Russ, we've had a good start by Richard Thackeray, because he's come out of the blocks right in the front there, being trailed by David Baker, who's selected for the Olympics. Peter van den Abele is in 3rd place from Belgium. He won 3 stages, by the way, of the mountain bike Tour de France last year, and in 4th place the British champion Barry Clark.
Yeah, Barry Clark's had an excellent start, and I actually reckon Barry's probably aiming for this, because he's not selected for the Olympics, so obviously his big goal is this mountain bike Tour of Great Britain.
Well, there's 1 or 2 gaps appearing in this long, thin line. The pressure has gone on at the front, all caused by Thackeray here, who was an outstanding junior in mountain bike racing. Now he's up against the senior elements of the sport. Baker's made a good start. He was the British champion until Barry Clark took that away from him last year.
Yeah, I was just wondering if actually Richard Thackeray started a little bit too fast. I know it's only a few, early in the race, but he's got to hold back.
There's a good view there of the whole field as we go down into Badger's Copse here. Off his bike, Thackeray, a very good cyclo-cross rider, by the way. He'll know how to carry his bike correctly on his shoulder, and he's doing just that. Did
you notice there, just the way David Baker took a little bit longer to get off his bike, and maybe, that experience is going to help him? Well, certainly by now they know they've got a very quick race on their hands. There's going to be no quarter given here. And a little group of 4 riders, shortly to be joined by 3, will give us a lead group of 7 as they go out onto this long, thin trail. No real opportunity to pass here. No, but as they progress near the top, you find they go from this sort of grassy trail onto a little bit of road section. So, yeah, I think that's where the strength's going to come in. Now, the one man who's just going through the camera there, number 22, is Lenny Christensen. He has made a terrible start. He's about a minute back, and that's a lot of ground for a man we really thought would be a challenger in the race today. To grips at the front. We're coming back into the arena here up towards the ramparts. Clark being trailed by Peter van den Abele, and look at the way Clark throws his bike on his shoulder there and runs up there effortless. Never loses the rhythm at all as he goes up the hill, straight back in the saddle, but he'll have to watch the Belgian who's right behind him. And in this lead group, 3 British riders have made the split here. Nicky Craig and Jamie Norfolk and David Baker are also up there with Barry Clark. There's Lenny Christensen, and look at that, 29th place, and in the thick of the riders who are a long way down. Some sprint. And going through there, 4th from the back of the line was Lenny Christensen, who took a few laps, but he's got across. He's made up for the bad start, and he's now up with the leading group. So another strength rider here to back up Rune Højdahl, because they're on the same team. That could pose a problem for Barry Clark, because there are a lot of riders here on teams, and Barry is alone. Yeah, the problem Barry's going to have is one by one they possibly be attacking him, so he's got to stay right near the front. But as I say that, it looks like there's a split in the middle of the pack there. And in fact, Lenny Christensen has realised it and sprinted across the gap. This man is still full of fight here after the long chase back. It's his teammate, Rune Højdahl, who sets the pace. Barry Clark watches him closely. They're getting involved now with the lapped rider. Meanwhile, back at Badger's Copse, there's an ex-champion in trouble. This ain't cricket. Well, there's one thing, Chris, you're pretty observant as the 4 leaders here start a short climb up towards the arena. Varble on the attack. Yeah, this is unbelievable. Warble's actually riding the last little climb with just over a lap to go. He's really trying to split the group apart now. But the way he went up that hill, he took about 15 lengths out of the other riders who just pushed the bikes over the top, and it looks as though we've got a real attack here now. He's realised it, he's looked over his shoulder, and Varble is 1 lap to go when he gets down into the arena, and he's built himself quite a lead. Now that was the skill of a cyclo-cross rider there, Russ, the way he rode up that slope. Yeah, and he's actually got a nice little gap there. Looks like a few seconds. He's actually on the biggest gear possible as we go back to the chasing group. And there's a 2-1-2 there. That was the 2 giant boys forcing Clark to take up the counter move of Rune Højdahl. Højdahl's got a little gap round the corner. Clark is right behind him, and then comes Peter van den Abele. There's the figure of Beat Varble, and look at this. Christensen has come across the gap as well. This man has found strength today. He has been chasing all day. He made an atrocious start. Now he has pulled back Varble, taken the lead, and it looks as though Barry Clark has scraped across as well. The whole group is back together again, Russ. Yeah, we're down to 6 riders, and it's really good to see Barry Clark still there, and just hanging on the back is Nicky Craig, also from the Great Britain Olympic squad.
Well, Nicky's done a good ride here. He is the British cyclo-cross champion. He's latched on, and we've got 6 men out in front, and we've got Craig in front here now. Christensen goes through in 2nd place. Off the bikes briefly as they go through Badger's Cups, and back on them as soon as they come through the bushes.
Yeah, that's the last difficult part of the course, and these 6 riders have really got to start thinking about the sprint finish.
Well, there's less than a minute covering the top 12 riders, but David Baker has fallen back into this 2nd group here, and the world champion of 3 times in the 90s, Henrik Journies, he's also in this group. So too is Gary Ford. So all of the action now up with these men, and Beert Wabel again has got himself back to the front.
And here's Lenny Christensen, and since he's joined this break, he's been in with every move. He's really firing. There goes Barry Clark. I'm sure we're going to have a winner out of one of these 4.
And tagged on the back there, Rune Højdahl. This is Peter van den Abele, and in fact Nicky Craig is the rider. There's Nicky just going through now. He's in 6th place. Well, battle at the front, this is David Baker. He's lost a little bit of ground. Henrik Journies and Jamie Norfolk, they're chasing down for the places, but the action's right here. And again, Beert Wabel has come to the hill where he broke away last lap. Now he gets off his bike this time.
Yeah, the 2 leaders, I think, have decided to save their legs for the finishing sprint.
The determination of Beert Wabel, and Højdahl has latched on. Look at the face of Højdahl in 2nd place. This isn't his favourite type of course. He prefers the cross-country long-distance racing, but he's hanging on. Lenny Christensen's got 3rd slot cleanly now. He looked over his shoulder, saw no one. It's going to be a sprint. Wabel is going to take it. Højdahl has got nothing left in those legs, and so Wabel gets the victory on the line. 2nd will be Rune Højdahl. That's a good result for him. And what a great ride by Lenny Christensen, who gets 3rd in the end. He knew from the back to the front, he knew everybody in this race, while Clark and Craig are the best British riders to finish.